It's so interesting when I think about micromanaging because it can be a leadership style. We hope not, right? But the reason it's so demoralizing is because it's kind of demonstrating lack of trust in your ability to do the job, lack of awareness, having someone hover over your shoulder all the time just eventually wears you down. And that's what creates the toxic work environment. You might be wondering, how can I even endure this? I was hired to do a job because you believed I could. So why am I now having someone have their hands in every little thing I do? Now, let's talk about you, my friends. Let's talk about how you can restore your confidence when you're dealing with a micromanager on a regular basis. So I want to talk with you first about a couple things. I harp on this all the time because no one really teaches us how to do this. And the first thing is to track your progress and accomplishments. This, in a way, maybe, I don't know, maybe we could call it micromanaging yourself. I don't want to have the negative connotation, but I do want you to be regularly tracking your progress, tracking your achievements, tracking your accomplishments, recognizing them for the success bits that they are, for the results that you're creating on a daily basis, and celebrate them. Because when you are being micromanaged, it feels like you're not getting credit for anything that you're doing. Getting credit from the outside, looking for outside validation comes and goes. So you have got to find a way to track your own accomplishments, to start feeling better because you are giving yourself validation. Imagine if you just get out of a meeting or a micromanagement session and you could walk out of that and say, wow, I know what I'm doing. I have got it under control. And look back at your week's accomplishment, look back at your month's accomplishment. In my dream world, I would have all of you have a notebook with accomplishments in it by week, sorted by month for the entire year. Imagine how cool it would be to look back on everything you accomplished in an entire year. And if you ever decide to make a career move, those come in really handy. Recognizing these things in yourself will start to restore your confidence when micromanagement has you feeling beat down. Now, reminding yourself that it's not about you is also a really great way to restore your confidence. Fear, lack of self-esteem, lack of self-image, feeling pressure. Maybe they don't feel trusted, and that is now getting reflected onto you, that you're not being trusted. So remind yourself, hey, this isn't about me. I deliver. That can be a really great way to restore your confidence. The other thing is just pure and simple thought management. When you are feeling bad after being micromanaged or on a day-to-day basis because you're in a micromanaging culture, paying attention to how you feel is actually important, not to dwell on it or indulge in it, whether that's anger, frustration, whatever it is. The reason you're feeling angry and frustrated or demoralized or defeated is because of something you are thinking. Viktor Frankl, in his psychology method, talks about that little space, the space between what's happening to us and what we're thinking about what's happening to us. That's the space I want you to look for, because when you find that space, That's where you can now start to be intentional about your thoughts instead of slipping into default thinking patterns. If you're micromanaged and you're thinking, they don't trust me, that thought, they don't trust me, is going to create a very specific feeling inside you and probably also result in some actions. How do you act? How do you behave when you feel defeated? You might not show up the way you really want to show up. You might start to shut down, or you might overproduce. And now you're working way more hours and your personal life is suffering. We're all such individuals that the thought, they don't trust me, results in feelings and behaviors that are very personal to you. And if you're an overachiever, you probably go into overdrive. That's what I used to do. Okay, well, how about if I just start answering emails at 10:30 at night, just to prove to you that I do know what I'm doing and that I am committed? Not healthy. So watching your feelings and then reverse engineering that back to, what am I thinking that's making me feel this way, is such a good way for you to restore your confidence. Anytime you find yourself in a micromanaging situation, slow down your own process in your brain and decide to think intentionally. We have an amazing capacity to have multiple levels of consciousness going on at the same time. So when you start to go down a path that feels like default thinking, they don't trust me, this is crazy town, why am I even here? Those thoughts you can actually use as triggers for slowing down and thinking a better thought. It's a way to kind of hack it. Sometimes those positive thoughts are hard to come up with on the fly. But if you have some created in advance, some intentional thoughts you want to have when you enter a micromanaging situation, then as soon as you feel yourself going this way, you can say, oop, nope, okay, stop. This is the thought I'm going to insert instead. It works. It takes practice, but it works. So have those thoughts ready in advance, the intentional thoughts. Base those thoughts on accomplishments, results, impact that you know you have, and you will be able to gradually restore your confidence and maintain your confidence. Some final thoughts. I want you to assume that they will never change. You're not there to change them. You're there to manage the situation. You're there to believe in yourself. You're there to help as much as you can and do your job, right? So let's assume that they're not going to change. How do you want to show up? That's the big question. That's something that you can decide. And if you want to show up as confident, secure, capable, find some really good words for you. You show up that way. The other thing that I want to offer to help you show up better, to help you just manage this, is, what would I need to believe about myself to, and then fill in the blank. What would I need to believe about myself to not let micromanaging get the best of me? What would you need to believe about yourself? Would you need to believe that you have whatever it takes to stay there and be okay with it? Maybe you're at your limit. What would you have to believe about yourself to leave? This is such a fun sentence to play around with, because you kind of know what you want. So what would you need to believe about yourself to go for what you want? Staying, if that's what that means, because you love your team, you love the work that's being done. Or what would you need to believe about yourself to make the move that you've been imagining? Such a good question.